Hi and welcome to the Small Business Hero Show, the show that we talk about everything to do with your small business. Today I'm talking to Chris Smith. Chris is from Happy HR and he's going to tell us all about why he created the fantastic app called Happy HR. But first, before we do that, I'm going to go into a little bit about who Chris Smith is and what he was all about. So, Chris is a Chief Executive Officer of Yoke Agency and also Happy HR. In 2000, aged 23, Chris hung up his chef's apron to establish a lean manufacturing plant and gourmet food operation called Valley Produce Company. Chris was able to take Valley Produce Company to the world, doing a fantastic job and bringing great success to that company itself. In 2011, he hung up that apron from that company and started Yoke Agency, an integrated management consultancy service. Then in 2014, obviously a prolific entrepreneur, Chris founded Happy HR. Now, Happy HR is a software as a service product designed to be the world's most efficient and easy to use human resource and performance management platform. Chris Smith, welcome to the Small Business Hero Show.
Thank you, Scott. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Chris, so tell us, what was around? Why did you invent Happy HR?
It was a long but a short story. So I'll take the short version today. We, in Yoke Agency, my other company, were doing a lot of HR consults, and I quickly found out a lot of SMEs, like they do with accounting partners, wanting tax compliance because ASIC says X and you have to do Y. HR compliance is something they wanted to do, but it was actually incredibly expensive to do. Getting a lawyer to draft contracts, getting policies that are legally compliant, getting position descriptions actually aligned to your strategic goals, and then performance managing to that was all just yucky. It was just too hard. So I said, you know what, let's change this. So I thought, I was watching Xero's success in Australia, and they were just going through this great program with their product, and obviously being in the cloud, I started to investigate what's the next generation of business being in the cloud, just like you have with your practice. So I thought, you know what, let's put HR on the cloud for a fee that makes sense so people can get started really quickly, work with a team of actually HR qualified professionals to get their business, I suppose, targeted towards their strategic goals and actually be HR compliant and also process compliant for a low fee per month like Xero.
That sounds fantastic, Chris. But Chris, tell me something. Since you mentioned Xero, payroll systems have gone so far in Xero and also in Mob and QuickBooks and others. Is there really a need for a small business to have a HR system as well?
There really is. I mean, the Australian Fair Work Act 2009, obviously it has other legislation, clearly stipulates that you need to have your workplace in check. So that means contracts that govern the employee-employer relationship, policies that actually govern the behaviours of people, and position descriptions that are clear and reasonable. So if things do go a bit pear-shaped, you've got essentially a reference point to go back to and say, oh, they're doing a good or a bad job. There's no grey. And that's the reason why so many businesses end up in the Fair Work Commission, is they play in the grey. And that means, like many businesses, last year was 37,000 plus cases, 185 million paid out. It's a big problem. So having your HR in place is a legal requirement, and frankly, it means that you're going to engage with your staff a lot more, and that's going to be really, really important.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Maybe you can explain to our small business audience what the difference is between payroll and human resources.
Absolutely. So payroll is obviously, getting your employee details, getting their correct payroll information, like their award summaries and all those types of things, paying Monday to Friday rates or Monday to Friday before 7 or after 7 p.m. So what Happy HR does, it actually is payroll, and that's the money coming out in the payroll, and Happy HR is the law behind managing your staff, and that's the real difference. You need to actually run your staff, which is really important.
I see. So it's not just about getting like a lot of small businesses that we come across in our travels, and I'm sure you do as well. We've used a very old legal agreement that offer letter that we might have found from a previous employer to employ our staff, and then we don't really have any sort of updated terms and conditions of that employment apart from what the employee's been doing for the last couple of years. So Happy HR takes care of all of that side of things.
Absolutely right. So Happy HR is a fantastic product in regards to, first off, employment contracts. Like you say, how many subscribers come on board and they've actually drafted their own contract? And that is really dangerous, because not only they're not lawyers, but if they did end up in hot water, generally they end up in hot water, or they might need a restraint of trade because they want to protect their business and their current employees who still work for the company. All these things need to be written by a workplace lawyer, and obviously we have an in-house team, etc., that does that. So every single subscriber to Happy HR gets access to an incredible employee contract that's fair for both the employee and employer to take that side of things forward, which is extremely important. So it means that, for a low fixed fee, you can actually get that rather than pay an expensive lawyer. So you get the two in one, which is very, very important.
That sounds great. Now, the whole other side, of course, of Happy HR is the performance management side of the business, the KPI setting. And, before Happy HR came along, we were always struggling to, and I'll confess, we use Happy HR here at Scott Partners as well. Before we had Happy HR in place, doing performance management, we had lots of different manual templates and Word documents and Google documents and things that were floating around, but nothing in a single place, and nothing that really did it, tied it all together. What was the thought behind performance management with Happy HR?
Absolutely. So one of the things I think is really important with HR, people say, even in our space, they say we've got legal compliance, we've got legal compliant documents, but it's actually not enough. I mean, let's look at it as a HR perspective, okay? So if your business has a strategic goals and operational benchmarks your business needs to actually meet. So, if you can monitor it, you can measure it. So what we do with a client is work with them to actually tailor their position descriptions to be aligned to their strategic goals. And that takes a bit of time on our part. We obviously save our clients a lot of time there. It is a consultation process they're getting as part of the subscription. But that means that they can actually have now position descriptions that are exactly right for that position in their company. So if they're measuring all the different parts of their business, means that they'll grow much more effectively, people are more autonomous, people are more engaged. So then performance managing on top of that means that you can say either doing a good job, or you're doing a bad job, or maybe there's room for opportunity for growth, and you can actually work with that person in order to actually do SMART goals and the development plans to put them on the right, I suppose, track, and obviously help them to hit strategic targets, which then means that they engage with that particular manager and or business leader a lot more effectively.
Sounds great. So, Chris, a lot of the clients, a lot of small businesses that we come across would say to us, well, look, we've got less than 15 employees, so all of they having proper contracts and employment agreements in place don't really apply to me. And as far as managing the staff and having performance indicators, we've got a small enough team that we don't need to worry about that. What would you say to those small business owners?
Well, I'd actually say quite a few things, to be quite frank. So first and foremost, this whole misnomer about less than 15 employees and I'm covered, that's really not the case. At the end of the day, you still need employee contracts, you still need policies to govern people's performance, because that's a legal requirement at the end of the day. You need to performance manage people in line with the legislation and the Fair Work Act, because at the end of the day, that's what governs employees within Australia. And obviously, in some cases, there's awards that cover different circumstances as well, which is a big part. At the end of the day, where I'm now 40 and you're 40 as well.
A little bit more than that, but thank you, very kind.
And we're at a point now where we're actually hiring millennials, right? So, and there's lots of businesses out there that are saying, one of the biggest problems they have is finding staff and then onboarding staff, etc., etc. It needs to be fast, it needs to be now, it needs to be in a process that's much, much easier for the business owner. So let's talk about your employment brand. So if you've got a cloud-based product that helps you just quickly, with a click of a button, invite someone, they read their contracts, read their policies, say I agree to all of that, induct themselves into the company, now they understand the expectations of them. Then you can actually performance manage them to those processes, procedures, etc., meaning that they're more engaged. That's actually one part of, just a small part of your employment brand. Recently, I read some information that 78% of people in Australia now, under like 50 years old, between 18 and 50, would not work for a business if they don't live and breathe the values of that company. Yep. Which is meaning now we have a freelancing workplace. People are more flexible because of technology. They're working from home or other. So there's a whole raft of reasons why you need to actually have tighter controls to allow people to be more autonomous. Okay, so by having these processes in place and clear expectations of your employees, you can actually develop a workforce that's more flexible. They're way more accountable, they're way more autonomous, and you'll be more profitable. So this is one piece of technology that can help with that. So there's lots of reasons I can give, but at the end of the day, you need to be compliant, you need to be able to drive your business to be accountable, and the only way you can do that is to have a system that drives your employees to be or have ownership over their KPIs. That are mutually agreed, and that's one of the things that we do.
It sounds absolutely fantastic, Chris, and you'd be crazy not to check out Happy HR. If for all the small business people that are listening to or watching us right now, how can they go about contacting Happy HR?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. First of all, go to our website, which is www.happyhr.com.
Details
you can
down
call
below.
link down below. You can also go to 1300 730 880, or you can just simply email us at happyhr.com.
Absolutely. And if any of my clients are listening to this as well, please feel free I can put you in touch with Chris as well. So
Absolutely.
I thoroughly recommend having a chat to the gang at Happy HR to just sort this all out, because you know save a lot of money, a lot of hassle if something goes wrong with your team, but also the better opportunity here is to get more out of your team, get more productivity, get more happiness, and make it a happy HR experience. Christopher Smith,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining us today on Small Business Heroes. We so much appreciate it. You've been listening to Small Business Heroes, the show that talks about everything for your small business. I'm Scott Trevethan from Scott Partners. If you'd like to find out more information about Small Business Heroes, please go over to our Facebook page, Small Business Heroes, and you can join up on that group, or you can go over to Scott Partners Facebook page, or www.scottpartners.com.au to find out all of these fantastic interviews, or just even subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's so many different places you can find us today. Chris Smith, thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you so much, Scott.